Mr. Ian.
Yes.
How are you, man?
Yeah, all right.
Great you're here today.
Yeah.
Thanks for jumping on the podcast. And
Good to come down.
Sharon, you testified at Chapel quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Months ago.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved it. So
Really?
yeah, I loved it, man. I love the with you in the room. I feel like let's punch on. Like,
Mate, it's funny.
It's true. I feel the same way.
It's only because I came from that sort of West Auckland,
yeah. Were you a Westie?
Well, no, I was Mount Albert, right? But I hung out, all my mates from West Auckland.
Right.
So we even went to that, that once were Warriors pub as these little white boys, like 15, 16, 17. And we'd go there for a couple of beers, and I remember one time there was this guy, mate, had no neck. He was about 6'6", this big married fella, mate, wild looking bloke. And my mate couldn't take his eyes off him because he was just like such a unit. And this dude just turns around and goes, "What are you looking?" He goes, "What's wrong with your eyes, fella?" And I've gone, "Sorry, mate, nothing." And I've grabbed my mate and I've just dragged him out of the pub. I'm like, oh. It's just terrifying, I'm like, we're these little skinny, like 7-year-old white boys, man. This basically,
it's huge
Maori pub. It's just basically like tough pub. And I'm like, wow, why are we here again? But we went back again.
So you were brought up in Mount Albert?
Yeah. Yeah, Sandringham first in Mount Albert. So
did you go to Mount Albert Grammar?
Yeah.
Wow, my dad did too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Rochelle's dad.
Really?
Yeah, he would have been. That would have been well before your time.
Because I did because we came off a farm. I did the ag course.
Right.
I used to help Mr. Honeybun run the farm.
Wow.
Which is really funny. So
Mr. Who?
Honeybun.
Mr. Honeybun.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Is that his real name?
Yeah. And then we used to.
How's the bees today, buddy?
Yeah, it's funny, eh?
He's real sweetheart.
Yeah. Then we used to milk the cows.
Buzz around everywhere.
You guys are terrible. We used to milk the cows that gave the house boys, like the guys that stayed.
Yeah.
Right, the milk.
Oh, wow.
So that was it was a full running farm.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I remember that.
Yeah, so we did the whole deal. So that was me for years.
So you whereabouts were you born then?
Auckland.
Oh, in Auckland. And then went farming where?
No, well, my grandparents and all my uncles and everything had farms up in the Kaipara.
Okay.
And we lived on 1,000 acres. Well, my grandparents had 1,000 acres on the Kaipara Harbour.
Wow.
So we had 3 married pars.
Wow.
And when I was a kid, we used to get walking on married pars. I used to see stuff I'm like, wow.
What's a Maori? What's that?
So it's an old Maori settlement. It was like a
village,
fortified village, and they were out on 3 headlands. And one was by a river, and that was the wildest one. You get in there, mate, you ought to hear stuff and see stuff. And I'm like, I'm a kid, And I'm like,
really?
Whoa! I could hear stuff and it used to. Sometimes it'd freak me out, but then other times it'd be like, man, what's the go with this? Like it was spiritual stuff, right? But I was like, as a kid, you didn't get it,
man.
And I'm like, yeah, it was just crazy. Yeah. So there's obviously, if you look back, there's obviously a gift there, but end up sort of going the wrong way.
So you, that was your upbringing, Kaipara Harbour, come to Auckland.
Auckland, yeah, school.
School was great for you?
School was great for me. Well, I had a car accident at 8. I was hit by a car outside of church, right? Smashed all the back of my skull.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
At 8?
At 8, yeah. Right. Jesse fell off the cliff of Mount Tambourine at 8, had a head injury, same deal. I ended up with dyslexia. So I went from being top of the class to couldn't read.
At church, were you going to church then?
No. My parents used to dump us off at Presbyterian church so we could go to kids' church and they'd have the morning for themselves.
What was it? Drive past and open the door through?
Yeah, drive through. Yeah, drive through church. They were just starting that new concept then.
Got hit by the car behind.
Yeah.
Did you actually get hit by a car at church?
Yeah, well, I finished church, right, and we were walking down the road, and my sister was I was with my sister, and and Mum pulls up, and I went, "Beat you to Mum's," and I was like, just gassed it through the cars and straight across the road.
Oh wow!
And
wow!
Yeah, and I'm like, that was it. Gone, hit. I was
8 years old.
Hit by a car, like thrown down the road, fractured my skull. Like, yeah.
How long were you in hospital for?
Oh, I can't remember. A couple of weeks, I think.
Can't remember. Can't remember.
All I remember is when I got taken out of the ambulance, the pillow behind my head was full of blood. That's all I remember.
Did they put your head on the cast or anything?
No. No. And it's crazy because I had an X-ray of my head about
Far out.
a year ago, and they could see the calcification where the damage from my accident was still calcified in the
Wow.
back in my brain. So it was like crazy.
They saw the Honda Civic badge.
Yeah. But look, years later, right? I'm going to God, like, what's the deal with the car crash? And when I first got saved, I'm like, I wanted all these questions answered, right? What's the deal with the car crash, right? You tried to kill me, right? I said,
Well, you said that to God.
yeah, and I'm angry, right? And I'm going like, like I didn't go back to church for like 25 years. I wouldn't go to marriages. I wouldn't go to funerals. I wouldn't even walk in a church.
What? Because of that?
Yeah. I thought God was trying to kill me, right? And he goes, it was the first power braked American car that came into Auckland. It was the first model.
So you would have been actually
Gone.
dead.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was just like so upset. I was angry with God, like I'm like, God, I'm so sorry. That's been, just like all this stuff, all these things in my life that have happened. I'm like,
God's like, did I tell you to run across the road?
no, you didn't. Yeah.
No.
If I wanted you dead.
Yeah. I'll pull your number, mate. It's easy.
This is going to be a great podcast.
It already is my favourite. This is the best.
It's funny.
Oh, man.
But it's true, like,
So from 8 to 32,
yeah.
you're just like, God's trying to, he's not my friend.
No.
You'd punch on with him.
Yeah. I'd go it. I'd do the Jacob thing, mate, I'd do the Jacob thing, run up, popping my hip out like, oh, bugger. It's like, yeah, and so, it's crazy because, we started scouts, like as you do. Like I didn't get on with anyone at school because then I was called the dummy. They used to call me the dummy.
Oh,
You're a dummy. Like, I'm thinking, I just was like, I was an A student, right? And then all of a sudden, like, gone. So I just start punching on at school, and being the bully, and beating the bullies up, just like didn't care.
Wow.
Until one point, I was playing rugby, and both teams kicked the living hell out of me, and I ended up in hospital.
Can't.
What's your own team?
Because I was so angry, yeah.
Both teammates.
Yeah.
I'll take my team on and you on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, yeah, what happened there? What?
Oh, just because I was angry and just like,
Out of control.
mate, yeah. So then I started then I got to left school at 15 because I just didn't cope. Even man up at Graham, I'd take on two families. Like I remember one time
Oh, you don't do that.
mate, one time I'm in maths class and it has Mr. I can't think of his name. We used to call him the Rat anyway. And I got one kid in a headlock, right? I'm punching him in the head, and the other kid I got him in a scissor hole round the neck with my legs, right? And I've got this other kid. I'm punching him. I'm smashing his head into the ground. This is in class,
Yeah,
Right.
okay. You're in trouble.
right? So this is an issue, right? So anyway, two different families, right? Meet me at the bike racks.
Yeah, wow.
I'm like, I had to go. I had everyone I could. Everything. I just went as hard as I could.
So angry.
Yeah, I got hurt, mate. Hurt, bike trash. Walked home, mum goes, where? I said I fell off my bike.
Into two families. Into two fighting families.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
But I didn't. They just went like, and it was on again, and it was on again, it was on again. I'm like, mate, I'm not giving up. I don't back up for anyone.
So okay, where's your dad in this?
At the bowling club drunk.
Really?
Yeah. Violent alcoholic.
Like bowling as in temper bowling or lawn bowls?
Lawn bowls.
Oh, yeah.
So he'd always be at the lawn bowl. He'd be at the bowl club from Friday to Sunday. Come home drunk. If anything went wrong, we'd get beaten up. just bash.
So friendship, you didn't have many friends?
2 friends.
2 friends.
Yeah. And they were the ones that everybody picked on.
Right. So you're like the defender.
I'm like, mate, pick up my friends.
Wow.
Or I'd see someone and I'm like, I'll look after them. And I guess that's my heart in a sense, is that I don't like the underdog getting hurt.
Yeah.
And it was funny because when I worked in, ended up running doors on nightclubs and running security and stuff like that, I didn't like innocent people getting picked on. I didn't like women getting picked on. So, that was my thing. Everybody, I was in Gladstone, ended up in Gladstone and then came down the coast. Everybody knew that if they're going to play up, the thing that I really didn't like was them like flogging to women or whatever, you know what I mean?
So what was your nickname?
I had a few. Some I can't repeat.
Oh, okay.
But everybody just called me Reedy. That was just easy.
Reedy.
That was just like standard.
So before coming to Australia, or actually, what happened at 32, like that changed when you spoke to God? Or was there a lot? You in Australia before then?
Yeah, no, I came over when I was 20 for a working a while.
A good time.
Yeah, not really. Like my family broke up and I was the cause of it. So I dropped my man on his ass when I was 18 and told him to leave, don't come back. Because I just saw what he was doing to mum. I'm like, it was really heavy. And I'm like, that was really tough.
One sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I left home when I was 15 and then my sister rang me and said, Ian, came and saw me. She said, Ian, can you just like come home? I can't do this on my own the way mum and dad are.
Oh, wow.
So I moved back home.
Was he violent with your mum?
No, he was verbally abusive and it was pretty tough. It was like, it was really dysfunctional and I'm very precious about our, very precious about our family unit.
Yeah.
Very vigilant on the way that I want to be a dad and the way that I want to, have my family because I just want love in it. And I know that we're going through the teenage stage and all that sort of stuff, but I want them to know that they're loved unconditionally. Like that's the love God gave us, and that's who we are. But sometimes it's hard to work out when they're teenagers and they're off doing the wrong stuff. Like you've still got to hold that line, because God always says that love is
not the absence of truth.
No, so you've got to try and hold that line. But as a kid, from 18 on, I had no dad, so I was just like. I already had issues, and I sort of all right. Well, we wind back a little bit at 8, because of and seeing Jesse go through his brain injury. I now know what happened to me, and because I was vulnerable, my neighbour decided that he was going to groom me for.
Wow.
So that happened. So I'm like,
wow. So there's a lot of anger.
Yeah. So I'm like,
getting interfered with.
I was like, mate. It's full on. I thought, you can hit me as much as you want, but you can't hurt me because I've been hurt beyond hurt. So bring it on.
Wow.
And so, the pain outworked itself in violence and alcohol and trying to prove that I was actually a man. That's the hardest thing is so I could outdrink and I could outfight and I could outspit and smoke all my mates, right? Because I had to. Because then I'm a man, you know what I mean?
Because you want to protect yourself.
Yeah, because I want to be, but if a woman said that, I had serious broken relationships, but if someone told me she loved me, well, then that was it, gone.
What if they told you they loved you?
Yeah, no, I don't want that.
You can't have that.
I don't want it. No, I can't have it, I didn't want it.
Wow. So,
Man.
When they say with every action, there is an equal reaction.
Yeah.
So, obviously the pain that you'd suffered, the vow you'd made, God wants to kill you type thing. So the reaction was just let's go.
Yeah, pretty well.
All to protect yourself.
To try and keep you safe. Safety is my thing. My family's safety is the biggest thing that I fight for.
So God was simply offload for your parents on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then where was the
but the best thing was about that, like what I worked out, the best thing about that was that Mum gave us like a little bit of money to put on the plate. Right, so I'd put a little bit of money in the plate and I'd take out enough that I could go and buy fish and chips for my mates. Shockingly.
So God wasn't really. He was a nasty piece of work from your
From my perspective,
mindset.
he just tried to take me out.
Right. So he had no. So God wasn't there. He was never here.
No, it was never there. Never there. It was just like, because it was a Presbyterian church and the guy had dressed in gowns and stuff, it was just like really weird. And we're like, I don't get this, but, morning tea's pretty good. And, the couple of kids here are all right, so we're good. It's like lunch, like school. I went to school to eat my lunch. That was about it, and fight anyone I could. So,
So then you're 15, leave home.
Moved back home.
Yeah, and then move back home.
Yeah, work out what's going on at home. Dad's getting worse. Then Dad had an affair.
Wow.
So then we're like, right, you're out.
I'm out.
No, he's out.
He's out?
Yeah. Sorry. There's some stuff I could tell you, but I can't tell you what I want to say.
No, you don't have to. I'm just trying to put it together. So God's not really anywhere.
No.
Except when he's there, he's trying to take you out. So then you come to Aussie for work, is it?
Yeah, just for a working holiday.
Okay.
Never went home.
Wow.
Never went home.
What were you doing for work?
Well, I did my trade as a butcher in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Right. And then in Onehunga. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I came over here and got a job working over here.
Okay.
And then I started playing footy, and then because I did rowing in New Zealand, right? So I represented New Zealand, went to Moscow at the World Champs and stuff, and then came back, and then my whole world fell apart.
So you would have been going down to Cambridge a lot.
Yeah. Carapero was our favourite spot. Yeah.
Did you go to Moscow?
Yeah, in '79.
Really?
Junior World Champs. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Where'd you come?
Fourth. We're actually on times. We got knocked out. We had Russia, East Germany, and West Germany in our semi. So the first three through. So these are other clowns. Like I talked to my...
Did you punch on with them after?
No.
Oh, good.
No, we had a ball, mate. Just like funny as.
So
It was fun. That was my sanctuary. Like for me, that was my safe place. Like I had a bunch of 8 blokes that I grew up with for 5 years, and we just had a ball.
Rowing,
mate. Just rowing, training really super hard 7 days a week. And we loved it, man. We just had the best crew. Won everything in New Zealand all the time.
Wow.
I don't think we couldn't beat. And even when we went to my last year of rowing, after I came back from Moscow, we raced the New Zealand 8. There was Waikato had 7 of the New Zealand 8 in their crew.
Wow.
And we're these young punks from West End, Auckland, mate. Right, we're these young guys. And our coach said, this is a final, right? You're racing against basically the New Zealand 8. Give it everything to 1,000 metres. Right, 1,000 metres, mate, we're still in front.
Wow.
The wheels fell off. So just not, but he goes, give it 1,000, everything you got for 1,000 metres. And we were like, we could hear the coxswain going, West End still in front. 1,000 metres, West End still in front. We're like, yeah. We're just like smashing it. Like, it was so fun.
Did you win?
No, we got flogged.
You got flogged?
Got flogged.
How far was the race?
2,000 metres.
Oh, so you cooked it.
We cooked it 1,000 metres, but we beat them to 1,000 metres. We beat them to halfway. We were like so pumped.
And that was the aim, really.
Yeah.
It was a sprint race for us.
We bet them for 1,000.
Yeah.
You beat us in the 2,000. We flogged you.
Yeah. We've got you. We've got you halfway, mate. We're there. That was funny.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Personal interest question from me. What's the quickest that you remember rowing 2Ks on a machine? How many minutes?
5:57, I think.
That's quick. I did 7 minutes 28 for my first trial the other day. Is that impressive for you or no?
Yeah, it's good. Like I raced Dan. Like Dan's, we had a 500 metre sprint a couple of years ago.
Dan who?
My Dan.
Son.
Oh.
Right, and he's
a unit.
He's a unit, mate.
You're
Right.
thinking Dan Pike here.
I'm thinking, Dan who? Hang on a sec.
So I go, Dan, come on, we'll jump on the thing, have a race, right? Right. I think I did 1:48 for 500 metres, right, which isn't bad, like for an old bloke. And Dan did 1:47.
Oh, wow.
You went first?
No, we just did it together.
Oh, wow.
just like side by side.
Yeah.
On those,
Right.
it was funny as, like, you know.
Because you'd have a lot of muscle memory. You'd have technique
Oh,
down
yeah.
pat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was crazy. But we'd row 15 Ks a day. We'd go. I nearly lost my apprenticeship because I spent so much time training. And like, you know, all my holidays at Christmas we'd spend at a rowing camp, the Carapera rowing camp, Epworth down the end. So it was wild. But, you know, when I came back, like, you know, I had a sort of long-term girlfriend at that point. But, you know, when the wheels fell off my family, it was just like, yeah, no. And then I realised I just couldn't cope. And my uncle said, I'll come over to Australia and I can get you some work and just, you know.
Whereabouts was that in Australia?
Gladstone.
Oh, Gladstone. So you're butchering up there? Mm. Yeah, right.
And then I started playing, because I did rowing, I was pretty fit anyway. So then I started training and went to the gym and stuff and got myself in a bit of a routine. And then one of my other friends was a real mad keen AFL player and watched it and stuff. So I sort of got interested in watching that. And then I was training and then I was in an oval and I got called over and I just started playing AFL, loved it.
Oh.
First season I played reserve grade, second season I was in A grade.
Awesome.
So, yeah, loved it. It was fun. But the boys, they were all construction fellas, so they'd all come in for the construction that was in Gladstone. So I ended up working in construction and sort of when the construction finished, I go back to butchering or, you know, we'll work for Woolies and Coles and, you know, like.
And God is still not.
Oh, yeah, nothing at all.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, no, is it?
Just living your life.
Yeah, just living my life and still had anger issues.
Right.
Right. And I remember my first job in Gladstone, I got employed by this Kiwi fella, nice bloke, loved what I did. We worked hard, just had fun, you know, it was really good bunch of guys, we were just hilarious. And then he told me that the contracts that we had with different things were winding up and that he'd have to let me go, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I find out later on that, like, later on, sort of, he said, I'll give you a couple of weeks' notice. I said, okay, because it was so full on in Gladstone, they paid, you know, to get people there, they'd pay for your car, for your accommodation, and they'd do all these benefits, and they'd give you free meat and a kilo of prawns at the end of the week and all sorts of stuff just as a bonus for being there. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So I'm losing all this, right? And then I've got to pay full rent, which is really high because it's a boom time, you know.
Yeah.
And so I find out that his best mate, right, was working in Woolies down the road and he was hopeless and they sacked him. So he was going to he sacked me.
So his mate could
So his mate get a job, right. So I get wind of this, right. So I go into this dude's office.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's not pretty. And I just say, mate, I hear that you're not nothing's run out, but you're actually replacing me with this other clown, right? And he denied it. Right, so I grabbed him out of his chair and I dragged him up the wall and I pulled my steak knife out and I put it under his throat.
Oh, wow.
And I said, mate, you know, you've done the wrong thing and I feel like just shoving this knife straight through your neck, right? And I just like abused him like full on, right? And this guy, everybody in the shop's like screaming, all the staff, all the guys are just trying to talk me down off the cliff, you know, like I'm just like went off. It's just pretty untidy. And I said, I'm leaving today. I want my pay. I want you to pay me up. Right. So the guy just goes to the till, just grabs all the cash he can and just gives it to me and just like,
Out you go.
It's kind
See
of
you later, mate.
an assisted robbery.
yeah. So anyway, so I go to Woolies, right, because I got no job. So I go to Woolies, right, and so the manager said, oh, you guys need a butcher?
Because I know someone who's about to leave.
No, he's already gone, right?
Oh.
And so anyway, because it's a small town, so the manager rings up the meat department manager and goes, oh, Bob, we've got a butcher here applying for a job. And he goes, oh, where'd you work, mate? And I went, oh, I used to work down at Stockland's down the road. He goes, oh, you're that guy.
He goes, look, I'll cut a deal with you real quick. You've got the job.
Yeah, that's what he said. But, mate, if I have to sack you, I'm going to make sure you haven't got a knife on you.
Did he say that? Oh, wow. So did he say, I'll cut a deal with you?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's terrible.
Let's slice something open and see what comes out.
It was funny. It was just like so funny. You know, and Bob, the manager, and I ended up becoming really good mates. And I worked, he brought his own shop and I worked with him, and it was really neat.
Was Bob the Woolworths guy or the other guy?
Yeah, Woolworths guy.
Okay.
No, the other guy didn't want to see me ever again.
No, I can't blame him, to be honest.
So there was this rage in you that was just dormant at times, but there.
Yeah.
And God was still just nowhere.
And like through all of that, like at 15, like my dad was in the Air Force in New Zealand, and he was a boxer. So he won the All Services Boxing Championship in New Zealand. So he fought the police guy, and then he fought the army guy at the end, and won and stuff. And so
cool.
Dad taught me how to box when I was a kid, so that helped. And then at about 15, Dad goes, "Man, you've got to learn more than what I can teach." So he took me to a martial arts thing.
Right.
And the guy said to me, "With your size and my skill, no one will ever hurt you again." And that were the words that I needed to hear.
Wow.
Right. So I just followed that path off and on for probably 15 years or more.
Wow.
Just different clubs, different styles, Now I came to Australia and I started doing like street martial arts, and then I started going into more Chinese stuff, and then I came to the coast and I learnt close combat like Tong and Kung Fu and stuff. So that was really cool. It was good in the nightclubs because you can just knock someone out and no one knows. I go, "Mate, what happened to that guy?" Don't know. I said, "I'm probably had too much to drink. I'll take him out." And it's just
Man, so I like that. What he said to you was just what you needed to hear, right?
Yeah.
Because it was
Justified,
yeah, but also that's what you needed. You needed to know no one could ever hurt you again after what you'd been through.
Yeah. So that was for me, that was like gold. Just loved it. Man, I used to look after all my rowing mates. They get in trouble, they'd go and help me out. And then we sort of came over there, and half of them ended up over here. So, in my sort of late 20s and 30s, all my mates were here. So half of them were here and the rest of them were dispersed around the world. So we caught up and we had a pretty close friendship group.
So you've got, it sounds pretty rough, You're living life, relationships, partying, punching on when you need, looking after yourself, and God. So how did this relationship with God sort of start merging?
Well, so I decided to get married, right, to just someone that was in our friend group, and that just didn't work out.
Right.
She'd had some issues in her childhood that came out in that relationship. I'd had issues in my world that came out in the relationship. And so that just sort of, we had a daughter, which actually, Steph, who actually, even though she was the most precious thing in my life, and that was the dream I had, even throughout the whole midst of my life, was that I wanted to be married and have a family. Right. And every relationship that I had, I could never see that either.
You could never see that.
I couldn't see it working out. I just couldn't see it. Right. So anyway, just the wrong person at the right time, I suppose.
Right.
And we only we lived together for a few years, and we moved up to Sunny Coast, and some stuff happened within her family, and all that stuff. Just life, and so it just fell apart. Wheels just fell off that one.
Well, you've got no faith to hold you together either, right?
Yeah, but I got no track to run on. I got nothing because my parents fell apart. So it's just like, oh, here we go again. And it's it's like this generational spirit that just kept.
But did it just seem, this is normal. This is what we got.
Just falling apart, just like whatever. But then she was the sort of person that would just, even though she was unfaithful, more than once, from what I can work out, and from family, my whole world just fell apart, and then I ended up feeling like I was completely worthless.
Right.
So then I was living in a mate's place in Mermaid Beach, and I'd walk the beach at night. And at that point, there was some guy that was mugging people on the beach. So I'm like, yeah, I'll get this guy. I'm going to beat the crap out of him. I'll sort this guy out.
Just to have an outlet.
Yeah. And this is the guy.
Wow.
As soon as anything happens to me, I'm just going to nail this dude, full on. Never found him. Never walked that beach every night because I couldn't sleep. I just it was just
torment.
Just so bad, right? And then I got to the point where I went, you know what? I'm just going to end it. Like I told you, I'm just going to. That's it. I just felt so like from the pressure I was getting from the other side, I just felt like I was just worthless. And I thought, I'm just going to end it.
God's not there.
God's not there. Nothing right. So anyway,
How old are you at this point?
I'm 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
32 rough years.
Yeah. So I've and everything it looks like everything
highs
to this
and
point.
lows.
Yeah. But I was a top Queensland manager for Coles or for Bilo at one point. Like for about 6 months in a row, I just topped all the figures. Like I helped people manage businesses that are very successful, but this whole thing, the dream I wanted was gone. And I'm looking at a blank page and I'm like, I guess you look at your marriage and you get married and you have a kid and you think, all right, okay, well, I know it's going to be a bit rough, but we're going to be able to work through it and da-da. But, when it doesn't work out, you're like...
Devote.
Failure. Once again, failure. You know what I mean? And then she didn't make it any easier because, she just was hurt and so she just hammered me as well. And I'm not the one that had the affair, right? So I'm like... So anyway, I'm like, just last night I went, oh, you know what, I'm going to boot up, jeans on, jumper on, jacket on. I'm going to get on the beach and I'm just going to swim back in New Zealand. That's it, where I'm going. And so pretty broken, my mate's got this model girlfriend from Sydney who's, her legs are like 6 foot long, just like stunning, I've just helped him recover from his divorce and now I'm at his place living in a room with... I helped him gut his bathroom. So we're like having a shower on the beach in front of these units of these old people. It's just awful. So anyway, I just decided that's it. Calling it. So that night I went down and I just, the thing with my dad is that he's also an artist. Like he was a sculptor, painting, very arty. I was in Auckland Society of Arts, was very renowned, built, Man Albert, library had one of Dad's sculptures out the front in the garden, all that sort of stuff. Like he made a ferrous cement one, and it was so to Dad's credit, he was very creative, very amazing like that, just incredible. So when I was about probably 6 or 7, Dad did this picture of the Milky Way, right, and then he painted my foot white, my left foot white, and then wiped it off and painted it brown, and they put it on the painting, right? And he did a gold prism, and this is my life, guiding story from my father, and he just does his gold prism up into the Milky Way, and goes, son, there is a God in heaven that loves us, and He doesn't care what colour your skin is, whether it's white or whether it's brown.
Your dad said that.
My dad said that to me, right? Oh, this is when I was like, that was that picture when he did it to me when I was a kid.
Wow.
Because I found out that Dad had met the Lord once.
Once, yeah. So that's when you were 6.
Yeah.
But then you're like smacked up at 8. Oh, God wants to kill me.
Yeah. So anyway,
so much for God.
I get to the beach, right?
32 years old.
32 years old, right?
Wow.
A mess. I was just on my knees. I'm like, I look up. I see that picture. And those words of Dad just came back.
Wow.
There's a God in heaven that loves you. I said, God, I know I've really stuffed up, but I need your help right now. And there he was. Didn't know about church, didn't know about Christ. I knew that was God, was real.
Wow.
And it was just wild. And then it was a journey. I just stopped smoking hooter and tried to give up drinking, and didn't. I didn't want anyone. I actually didn't want to meet anyone. I just wanted time, just literally sort of time to heal. And
so you would get up to just walk into the water,
yeah,
and it stopped, and just that picture
just flashed in my mind's eye,
and you just said
when I looked up,
crazy prayer.
Yeah.
And what happened? Was there a peace all of a sudden?
Oh, mate. Yeah, it was crazy. It was just like God was there like that. And I just thought, far out, And because I was into into seances and astral travelling and spiritual flying and all that sort of stuff. Like when I was a kid, I sort of went down that path in their scout group because he was a spiritual medium.
Wow.
So I was already able to see in the spirit, there was I shut it down because it just freaked me out. One day I was like astral traveling and I came back into my room and there was like the Grim Reaper was in my bedroom, like waiting for me when I came home. I'm like, yeah, no, this isn't good. I'm just like, I can still see that picture today. Just like 3 people in my room looking at my body. I'm like, oh, man, this is just like not good. So yeah, then I sort of, I didn't go searching. I just knew that God was my friend. I just knew that.
Wow.
And he hadn't tried to kill you.
And he wasn't trying to kill me, right? And then he slowly unfolded everything that he had done for me over the years. It was like crazy. But, and then sort of, I got another job and I changed things around. I changed my lifestyle around a little bit, and sort of, but then I slowly slipped back into the drinking and, the boys like, come on, Reedy, what are you doing, mate? Come on, we're going out and everything. And so I got back into that. But just really, I said, God, is it right for me to go out tonight? And I just felt peace. I'd go out. And if it wasn't, I'd stay home.
Right.
So anyway, this one night, I go out and it was like, we were pretty untidy by the end of the night. And I didn't realise, but there was a lady had been following me around all the nightclubs in Broadbeach. Right, every time we went there, we'd sort of bump into each other. Right, backslidden worship leader, mate, heard from God. It was just crazy, man. So we ended up like hooking up, and so we sort of had a really strange sort of relationship. But she was the one that actually led me to the Lord.
Wow.
And then I got saved, and in the midst of all of that, my dad went in for an operation in Auckland, and they nicked his bile duct.
Right.
And he went septicemic inside, and they had him on a life support.
Wow.
And 10 days, so 10 days in, this is before I met this lady, right? So my sister rings me and says, "Oh, like Dad said, they said they're shot to pieces. They're gonna turn the machine off." And so I I hadn't met this lady yet, but I got on my knees on the side of my bed and I said, God, if you're real, I just want to tell my dad I'm sorry. I want to tell him I love him. I just want to give him a hug. That was it, just from the heart. Never thought anything of it. The old man, next day the nurse goes and looks at the old man. He's looking at her. She moves around the room and his eyes follow her, and she's like, he's puffed up. He's got tubes everywhere, right? But his eyes are following this chick, right? He goes, next thing you know, there's 40 specialists in the room. They can't believe he's alive, right? So then I meet this lady, and then I get saved, and then God tells her to leave. Right. I've got him. Right, you've done your job. Now leave. Thank you. Right. So I'm really angry. Right. I'm like, God, that was just like awesome. People probably think it was awesome for the wrong reason, but it was awesome. Right. But he got me saved. Right. So anyway, I'm managing this factory. I'm in there by myself one morning, and I'm like hurting. I'm like, God, what are you doing this to me? I'm going right off. I just call it. I don't mince my words when I pray. I just tell God how I feel. I think he's big enough to handle it,
Yeah, he is.
He's seen what I've been through, so he can handle it, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, audible voice, mate. Like he was standing beside me. He goes, I brought your father back tonight. I'm like,
wow. Wow.
He said, ring him. Right, so I rang my dad. We cried for an hour and a half.
Wow.
And I said to Dad, I just want to know where you were those 10 days, mate. I just want to know. And he goes, mate, he said, I was in the most beautiful place. Complete in peace, no pain, nothing. It was just the most beautiful thing. He goes, then he said, then the Lord came out to me. And he said, then my dad's Ian as well. He goes, you can stay, but your son really wants to just say sorry. He wants to tell you he loves you, and he wants to give you a hug. And the next minute, Dad wakes up.
Wow.
And I'm like, I've never been able to, I've never ever doubted that God was real.
Right.
In any of my walk.
Yeah.
And just the things that God just adds to, the things that he does. And like now I've got a really good relationship with my dad.
Wow. He's still alive?
Yeah.
Wow.
93, still walking around on the roof, changing his aerial because he can't, you know. Yeah.
Wow.
So he just, you know, God gave us, 20 years, 25 years, more of relationship.
Wow.
And, you know, when we were over there one time, God gave us heart to the Lord. My sister's given a heart to the Lord. It's just like crazy.
So you're then what? How did you meet Marie then?
Oh, so, you know, then I end up in a church.
Right.
You know, get saved. But I didn't do church because church to me was like full of hypocrites. So I'm like, it was just like everything in church I saw was like all bells and whistles and, you know,
Right.
smells and, you know, fog and whatever, but it's all like weird.
Hey. The gym's full of hypocrites as well.
Oh, I know. Yeah. They turn up on, you know, they'd party all weekend and on Monday they turn to the gym going, I'm going to get it. Yeah. But anyway, you know, that's what I saw. That was what I understood. Yeah. And then, you know, when I find out God's real, then I sort of just, I start going to this. I met the pastor and I just cried, mate.
Wow.
For about 2 months. I had so much pain in my heart, I just cried. I couldn't even speak to anyone. I'd walk in, feel the presence of God, just cry. Sit up the back of church in my leathers and my motorbike jacket and just cry. I didn't want to speak to anyone.
Is that like just God melting the walls?
Yeah, just for months, mate. Just months. And I'm still sometimes overwhelmed by the presence of God because He's healed so much. He's done so much in my life, you know. So anyway, I end up 9 months of being saved to go to Bible college.
Wow.
And
just hungry for it now.
Yeah. So it's like, mate, I've got to find out about this God that I just met. You know, so I go to Bible college and I'm living on my own. I've got to up the thing and I'm trying to negotiate a relationship with my daughter that was, you know, by this stage, the ex has gone up to the sunny coast, so that made it really difficult, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, but anyway, I'm like, right, I'm just going to chase God. So for 2 years I was at Surf City and then I moved to Hope College. So I was with Richard.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So it's 2 years I was there. And, you know, he was like my spiritual dad anyway. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
So, so I met Richard and then I met Marie's brother.
Jimmy.
Yeah. So he was going to Bible college as well with me. And then, and I hate being late. I hate being late. So, but I was naughty still as well. So in the sense that I'd go to Bible college and you weren't allowed any food or drink in the Bible college, and I rock up with like 4X t-shirts from some of the pubs I worked in and just, you know, VB from just all this stuff. I rock up at Bible college and they're like, dude, you can't wear that stuff. And I'm like, what? It's just a t-shirt, man. I'm like, yeah, but it's like, you know, I'm like, so they got all, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. So I just threw them out. But so I met Jimmy, and then through Bible college I met Pastor Paul Wolfenden, who I ended up travelling overseas with and doing a fair bit of mission stuff. And we went to Chile and Argentina and America, and we went to the Philippines and Taiwan. I just carried his bags. But he's a prophetic teacher, so it was like unreal, man. The anointing was just like crazy. We'd pray for like sometimes 800 people in a session. It was like awesome. And sometimes you'd prophesy over them, and we would do. In the Philippines, we went to a training session, which was like full. We did like fundraising stuff from all these churches, and we paid for all the pastors in the Philippines to come to one place, and we'd just pour into them. You know, it was just so good, so fun. And then I'm preaching on this jungle. I just got on this little tiny scooter one night. The guy goes, oh, there's a big dude here in about an hour to pick you up. We're going to go and preach this church. I'm like, okay. So just like chuck me on the thing. On the scooter, man, we're going out of town. We just kept going. And I'm like, we're now in the jungle. And the road's getting skinnier. And this kid's just like full noise on this little scooter. And it's freaking me out, you know. And we end up in this stone chapel. Right, with like rough poured cement, poured cement, just like rough, man. You know, at the night I ended up praying for them. I said, anyone in prayer? And they like, all came up.
Yeah.
I'm praying, mate. These people are just like falling down and landing on the concrete. I'm like,
wow.
It's like no carpet, nothing, mate. Straight on the concrete. Then this little old lady, like tiny little old lady with a hunchback, like, was a catcher. She'd just like leaning behind them with a hunchback and back up to them like that, right? And they'd fall on her and then just sort of slide off. And I'm like going, God, what are you? This is just crazy. Like, aren't these people getting hurt? Like, it was just full on. It was just crazy. And then I went back to the pastor's place for dinner, and Paul goes, "Don't even ask what the food is, just eat it."
Yeah.
All right, but it was chicken, which good. It was good.
Bin chicken.
Tasted like chicken. Yeah, probably bin chicken. Yeah, so that was fun. So Paul was assistant pastor at Hope. Was Paul Allen, if you know Paul Allen.
Yeah.
So we ended up down at there was a change of leadership at the Bible College, and Paul Allen left, and so did Pastor Paul Wolfenden, because they were both in the same church. So then I went to Bible College at Hope, where I met Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then, so wanting to be punctual, I'd always rock in and grab my coffee, which we weren't allowed to take into class, and I'd sit up the front always, because I just wanted to know.
Wow.
And and the other thing was being dyslexic because of the accident. Right, I couldn't read. Like everything was jumbled. Like if you show me something, I'll do it easy. But so anyway, the only book I could read fluently was the Bible.
Wow.
I could just read it, like easy. Anything to do with the Bible, I could read, no problem. It was almost like God just anointed me or gave me the ability to read it. And so so anyway, do Bible college, meet Jimmy. One night I'm late.
Never late.
Never late. Never. Always early. Always got my coffee. Never late. So I'm late, right? And there's like packed. It was a Christian counselling session, right? It was packed. Right. So Jimmy's there. The only seat that was in the whole room was one seat. Guess who was sitting beside? Marie. It was Jimmy, his mum, and Marie in a spare seat. And then we had to do this interaction thing. Right.
So you take that seat, obviously.
I had to. It was the only one I had.
You'd never met Marie before?
Ever.
Wow.
Never seen her. Right. And I'm like...
Little do you know, Jimmy said, "Don't anyone sit in that seat."
Yeah.
This is for my boy Ian.
It was just funny, eh? I'm like, mate. So we sat beside Marie and we had to do this interaction, and it was like you had to talk to someone. You wanted to talk to that person, right? But she had to ignore you.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say anything, and I went, "Oh, this is just like my ex-wife."
Oh wow.
So we just had this bit of banter, but funny, and stuff like that. And Marie said, Jimmy said to Marie, who, if you met someone, what would you look in someone? And she goes, "Oh well, I probably wouldn't want anybody that's been married before, or anyone, definitely no one that's got baggage like family or a kid or anything, like definitely no." And Jimmy's like, "Right, yeah."
My plans failed.
Yeah, no, but because before we'd met, right, Jimmy's had this vision of her and I being married.
Wow.
Oh.
Right, God's given him this vision of her and I being married and being on a tropical island, which is we went to the Vanuatu for our honeymoon. Right, so Jimmy's like going, "Hang on, Ian's been married and has a kid." Like, mate, how's this going to work? So, but anyway, just slowly. Then I got invited to Paul was speaking, Paul Wolfenden speaking, and so I went along to church, and I didn't actually know that Marie was
There.
Jimmy's sister. I thought it was they were married because they're close.
Right.
I rock up at church and they're like, sitting together and arm in arm, and he just Marie's story. He just got saved, so she's at the same church with Jimmy, and she's like just loving what God's doing. And I'm like, oh, this must be Jimmy's wife, mate. She's smoking up, and I'm like, all right. Then I find out that this
brother and sister.
Yeah, didn't know, right? I just assumed, make an ass out of you and me. So that whole thing. So anyway, I find out.
Did you get in a mood and walk out?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever. I'm there for Paul, but nice. Lucky Jimmy. And so then I'm like, I find out that she's single, right? So I'm like, so she invites me to church. Wow. I'm like, sweet. And meanwhile, she's reaching out to this other guy at school, right, just for salvation, because this guy's looking for something, right? And so it happened to be the same day she invited him, and he rocks up as well. Right. So I got dressed up, put nice clothes on my shirt, like, cause, and like there she is with Big Red, Big Red's there, and I'm like, right.
That Big Red, you met Reedy?
Yeah, no. So I'm like,
Big Red, you want to do this, bro?
Right. So I'm like, right, all good. she's obviously got someone else in mind. Maybe she's invited me because she was doing a dance or something, like whatever. You know, because she did. Right, so I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I'm like, yeah, right. So
in a mood.
So then I'm like, unfortunately, the Reed thing is, right, our family is just like, you just get cut clean.
Right.
You just chop. End of relationship, gone. Nothing. Like, I see it in my whole family. My inter-family relationships are just like chopped.
Right.
My auntie's dying of some sort of pancreatic cancer or something. She's in her 90s. And a sister who's 20 years younger, that she's hated her for 20 years now. That it's she's going to pass away. She's trying to restore the relationship. I'm like, you know. So anyway, just like, yeah, not done.
Wow.
You know, sorted. And she's like, where's Ian? Where'd Ian go? I'm like, no, you got someone, I'm done. I'm like, I'm not doing that. You know, you got someone, I'm interrupting that. I'm like, I'll bail. And so then it just was a journey of, but I didn't realise that Pastor Paul Wolfenden was mentoring here as well.
Right.
On the other side of the thing, because, you know, we ended up going out. I was just like, because, you know, I went and saw Pastor Richard and you know, he said, what's going on? And I said, oh, look, he said, you look sad, mate. He said, well, come and have a coffee. We'll have a meeting. We'll pray together. We'll devotion together. So I did that. And he's like, I think I told you that, you know. He said, oh, what do you want? I said, I'd like someone with like a Christian heritage and like someone with a bit of track for me to run on so I can understand what's going on with this whole deal, because I'm not like sure what's happening. And so anyway, we prayed and we did devotion and all that stuff. And he said, you know, look, I don't even think she's saved, mate. He said, actually, I don't even think she's in Australia. I'm like, no. This is not right. But I trust him. So I went, all right, God, I trust Pastor Richard. I trust what he said. So like every night my prayer was, God, if she's not here, bring her home. If she's not saved, get her saved. You know, Marie's in Paris.
At the time.
Just for whatever reason decides to come home, has a bit of an epiphany with God herself, comes home, meets Jimmy, gets saved. You know, we sort of meet.
You think Jimmy's his wife?
Yeah, for a little bit until a week that wasn't.
And then she's like got a friend that's reaching out.
Yeah.
So you're like Big Red, like, oh, wow. And then so when did you find out that Big Red wasn't actually?
Oh, Jimmy told me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He goes, where'd you go, man? I went, you know, your sister had someone there, and I thought that's, you know, she was a bit attentive to him. I'm like, you know, I didn't understand the whole salvation thing. I didn't understand that whole deal.
Yeah.
Right, I'm like, chop.
Jimmy's like, I'll sort out Big Red, mate.
Jimmy's like going, oh, like Peter. You know. So it was fun. You know, then we did end up, we had where God spoke to Marie was where we had a crusade at Surf City with Danny Pule, who was a Zambian guy that came over, and he was amazing, just amazing little short Zambian guy. Was on fire for God, mate. Just like, okay. I see the flames come out of his hands and just praying for people. It was just full on. Anyway, he came and I always said, all right, she's nice, and she's nice, God, but you know, you told me that you would actually bring her to my church.
Right.
And she hadn't turned up. So we're like, no. Because I wanted to get it right. Like, I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
It's just really important for me to get it right. So I just went, no, if it's the wrong person, let it be. Right. Next thing, she rocks up at these crusade meetings because this power of God was just crazy. You know, we had a couple of mini revivals and stuff. It was awesome. And so, she rocks up. I'm like, wow. She's here, God. I'm like, mate. So I went, all right, I got some stuff I got to deal with. So I go up the front for prayer. God just slams me. Right, I'm just like,
out,
gone. Right, because I said, I still got some issues, God. I just need to try and get rid of them, you know. And I'm trying to work through all this stuff. I'm trying to unravel what's going on in my life so I can, you know. And like, there's all sorts of weird things that happen. Like, I went to different meetings when I first got saved. Our church only had one service. I go to different services, different churches around the Gold Coast. And, you know, God sort of, you know, there's that scripture that says that, you know, your conscience is seared by sin. Right. And I believe that sometimes God just sears it from us who are the, I hate the word victim, but who are the victims of that someone else's issue.
Yeah.
Right. And then, for God to heal it, he's got to rip that seal off.
Yeah.
And so, I'd go to different meetings and God would just be ripping the seal off stuff that happened in my life so that he could heal it.
Yeah.
And so I could move on, so I could have the relationship that I've got now. You know what I mean? So, I just had to get that sorted with.
From meet to marry, how long was it?
Well, 6 months in, I'm like, mate, I love this chick. She's gorgeous. She's just amazing. I love everything about her. So I'm like, yeah. I asked her. She said no. She's like, no. Right. So I'm like, right, again. Chop. Right, so I go home. Because she had some of her, was moving around, so I was in a pretty stable unit, so and a pretty stable flatmate, so I just had some of her stuff stored at my joint, so I'm like, right.
That's it.
She had this pink vanilla Magilla. It was like a big stuffed gorilla about this big.
Yes, we've heard about this.
Yeah. In the front of my car. Right. And I've smashed my car. I'm like, I got the work van. I got Magilla clicked in on the passenger seat. And I'm like, what are you looking at? You're going home tonight, mate. That's it's done. We're done. Walked in the middle. You're still in youth. I just got all of it crap and everything, boxes and everything. I've just dumped it at church. I'm like, no.
Bro, you're ruthless.
Done.
That's ruthless.
That is.
That's chop.
And Jimmy's like,
That's Chopper Reed.
Jim is like,
I can relate.
yeah, Jimmy's like, oh. I say, rings me. I'm like, no.
Bro.
Somehow, God used Jimmy. Right. Again.
Jimmy is my favourite.
Again, right? To talk to me. And somehow we ended up on the beach, all of us together.
The three of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know. I don't know what I can't remember time frame.
Yeah.
I know how.
But all I remember was like, chop, done. Right. You know what? I'm just not going through this, God. No. And so I went and talked to Paul, and Marie's talking to Paul. I'm getting counsel. He's like, she doesn't think you're stable enough. I'm thinking, man, I'm already unstable. I'm seriously unstable here, and I got no. So I'm like,
that's it.
No. He's like, and so then he's got Marie right on one side and then me on the other. And I'm at his place at 6 a.m. every day during the week for prayer before we go to Bible college and stuff. We go away overseas and stuff. We travel together and stuff like that. And so I'm like, I trust him.
Yeah.
So, somehow we ended up, I don't know, I can't remember a time frame, but on the beach together, praying together. Jimmy was praying with us and stuff, wow.
And then so you asked again.
So then we took some small steps and slowly sort of rekindled that. And then this time, through the guidance of Paul, he said, he just sort of stepped me through the process. Because I said to him when I first started travelling with him overseas, I said, look, I got no idea about this whole God deal. I said, I've come from just like a completely messed up family. I've had a pretty messed up life. I don't know. Literally, I had no boundaries. No boundaries at all. Yeah. So I need to know. If I ask you weird questions, can you just answer them?
Yeah,
honestly, because I don't know. I'm asking not to be smart. I'm asking to be honest.
Point, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I just did that. And then so he was able to guide me through and we were able to just rekindle it and then, and then sort of fall back in love again and, and sort of so slowly and we just went from there. And then I had to warn her, to stay.
That's all.
I love
it. It's going to happen on this day. Took her up on the tiger moth.
Nice.
I had the ring in my finger, had my ring in ring box in my pocket. And got down on my knee and asked her. And after it came in on the plane, it was just like one of the plane, the Red Baron plane.
Yeah.
I took her up on that.
Wow.
Had lunch and it was awesome.
So good.
She said yes.
That's amazing.
18 months.
Now, how long have you been married for?
25 years this year.
Wow.
Kids?
3 awesome kids.
3 beautiful kids.
Yeah. Well,
far out.
Sometimes they're beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, well done.
We better wrap it up there. But amazing story,
Yeah.
awesome testimony.
And she's still the love of my life. Like,
Yeah,
you know, just God's been able to heal that dysfunction and pain to allow me to love someone. Like,
That's awesome.
with all my heart. Like I love God, like all my heart. And so that's the difference.
Yeah.
You just got to do that surrender and allow God to be God. And, you know, with all the dysfunction and all the crazy things that God's done in my life, I just know that this is what he wants.
That's awesome.
Man, so
And
good.
just, you know, so I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
And, you know, being at chapel is just amazing for us as well. It's just such a,
Oh, you got to get that in there.
got to get my, it's just,
Hang on, let's keep going.
Yeah, we got another 15 minutes.
no, it's just such a beautiful place to
It
be
is,
where you can flourish
Yeah.
with no pressure.
And I just love listening as well to you because I know Richard. I knew Richard.
Yeah.
I did rehab through there, and his daughter.
Transformations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his wife, his daughter Chrissy, her husband Justin. So it's just beautiful to hear the impact that he had on your life,
Yeah,
and then
it's
you're
so good.
here, and just it paints a beautiful picture of what might not always seem like it, but just the love in the community and the connection of the body of believers on the coast. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing today.
No worries.
Thanks, Reedy.
No worries.
Thanks,
Bless him, mate.
Love it,
Reedy, my boy Reedy. Glad you chose Reedy over Big Red.
Yeah, mate. I'm glad she did.